Champions League, he's been an absolute animal, really, hasn't he?
That might be the way forward for the rest of the season, you know.
Great to see an England player slotting away penalties in the way that he has in a World Cup, yeah.
Kind of very Newcastle that even when we're 5-0 up at half-time, we're going to have a scrap. He's never going to give you screaming back-page headlines and stuff, but I felt we've learnt a bit more about him emotionally in the last few weeks.
He is the player that you build the team around.
Where Voldemar himself would be happiest playing. Does he actually see himself as a number 9? We've seen how disappointed he is about not being able to get on the score sheet. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. Hello and welcome to Inside the Toon, your weekly deep dive into all things Newcastle United. I'm joined by journalist and Newcastle fan Jack Cunningham and head of sport at The Sun, Shaun Custis. Gentlemen, what a win we have to talk about. 6-1 in the Champions League, a 5,000-mile round trip that was well worth it, Jack.
Absolutely well worth it, wasn't it? I'm so happy for those fans who made the journey. I mean, what a once-in-a-lifetime trip, so good. And that first half, yes, we can talk about maybe how bad Karabakh were, but it was like when we battered Tottenham that time, 6-1. It was like, I think anyone could have been against us and would have probably overrun them. It really felt like it was Newcastle up there pressing, aggressive best, Gordon leading the press, Barnes, Alanga, Willock, Tonali, they were all over them from the start. I mean, the amount of chances we created in that first half, I think the keeper by the end of the game made 7 big chances saved, and we still scored 6 goals. It was brilliant, I absolutely loved it, especially that first half, genuinely absolutely battered them.
Did you not feel slightly robbed that we didn't have 8 at half time? Because I was with Anthony Gordon. He was a bit cross with himself that he hadn't got more, and there were good chances. They weren't half chances.
No, there were some big chances. Yeah,
this could be anything.
No, the keeper made some great saves. Yeah. I think Barnes could have had a hat-trick, genuinely.
Their keeper genuinely was man of the match.
He was man of the match.
And he conceded 6 goals. That shows how dominant Newcastle were. By the way, great point about the fans. We've got to give an effort that is. There was over 800 of them in the stadium as well. I mean, that is incredible. I bet they had a great time up there. It looked like it did look really good fun. Some cheap pints, I think, in Baku.
And Baku got drank dry.
But isn't it great that they were rewarded with that as well?
Absolutely. And fun, and had fun. You know, you can travel away with Newcastle United and come away quite depressed sometimes, but this was just magic. It was like you saying, Jack, earlier on to me, that you would have loved to be on it. It was one of those trips where you'll talk about it for quite a long time, and yet they're not a European powerhouse, Karabakh, and it's fun.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah. Gordon, the star of the night, though. 4 goals, absolutely. Of course. Obviously, I mean, in the Champions League, he's been an absolute animal, really, hasn't he? Okay, a few of those have been penalties, fair enough, and we'll get onto that, by the way. But yeah, you've got to give him his props, and you know, in the last few games, obviously, he's been trusted as that number 9, and it is working.
Second top Champions League goal scorer. You know, only Mbappe is ahead of him. He's the second Englishman in Champions League history to score 4 goals in a game. The only one to score 4 goals in a first half. The records were just flying out of the window. He was brilliant. I thought his first goal, really good finish. That's what we want to see if you're going to play the number 9, first time finishers like that. From the penalty spot, do we really feel like he's going to miss? I don't really feel like he is. He's only missed 1, I can remember, which was against Everton at Goodison Park. That kind of felt like he was going to miss anyway because of all the emotion around it. When he steps up to take a penalty, I have full confidence he's going to score. And then his other goal was really good as well. We go around the goalkeeper and scored. He could have scored more, but he led the line brilliantly. Loved how aggressive he was. I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to think that might be the way forward for the rest of the season, you know. We look so much better as a team. Everyone seemed to just know their role, know what they were doing. So with Gordon as the starting striker, and then Walter, he is playing as a 10, but he's kind of playing as a 10 when we're in possession. Out of possession, he's moving it in the midfield 3. That might be the way forward.
It's an interesting point, that, because Eddie Howe, each time he's talked about Voltemar in that role, has really stressed that he's one of the midfielders. Yeah. He hasn't talked about him as a number 10 in a creative role, but he also last night was really praising that creativity of Voltemar in that position.
He thinks back to when he took on Joe Linton and things, and he converted him into a midfield player. Joe Linton couldn't hit a barn door, we well know. We thought he was a useless signing. 40 million quid wasted, 2 goals in about 80 games. And he's maybe thought, I wonder if I can do the same for Waldemar and stick him into midfield. Not why he was bought, and I kind of think we really should try him again up front. But it might be the way he's thinking. It's creative.
It's a good point, that.
Yeah,
it's a really good point about, and actually it's been, like you say, Shaun, one of the strengths of Howe as a manager is sometimes just recognising there are different abilities with some of the players he's got at his disposal, and one of them being Waldemar. And actually, even if you look at that win over Villa in the Cup too, I thought he put in a great performance. And I think the main strength, Jack, actually, is that he just doesn't lose the ball.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Going back to the Villa game, before the goal of the handball decision, wow. But before the handball decision, Waldemar holds off about 3 players and then works out Trippier, and then Trippier puts the cross in, and then you stand in the box and somehow it's not given us a penalty. But anyway, that was all from Waldemar drawing men in. And what I really like about him in this role is they think they can win it back, so they run in to try and get it back, and then he just has created space for someone else, and he gets it out wide to someone else, and then other players have got more space to operate in. The team looks better. It looks connected between the front line and the midfield, and he's that man who's actually linking together, and he's a wonderful footballer to watch. He's so unique. There's not many players who've got that profile. I absolutely love him. I genuinely love him. I appreciate he's not this classic number 9. I don't know how many goals he's going to get, but no one can watch him and not tell me he's a wonderful footballer.
So we've changed him, Waldemar, into midfield player from a striker. We've shifted Anthony Gordon from the wing to centre forward. By means of it, things haven't been working out. And you'd probably be able to pull up a load of clips on here from me saying, I don't fancy Gordon as a centre forward. But equally, he wasn't really producing the goods on the wing. So he's now producing a bit better as a centre forward. But ultimately, that wasn't the plan. He's now saying, I think, that he's very happy to continue in that role to the end of the season, which I think is not going to make Waldemar or Visser very happy, frankly. But hey, while it's working, you've got to persist with it. Even going forward, what does it mean England-wise? Does that mean that Tuchel thinks, hey, not only I've got a guy who has played for me on the wing, he may be a great backup striker to Harry Kane, which is always the big conversation which we're having about who can fit into that, and there are no obvious candidates for that.
I tell you what, just quickly from an England perspective, great to see an England player slotting away penalties in the way that he has in a World Cup.
I think this is all contributing. I think Tuchel's watching Gordon now play as that number 9 and thinking, right, well, that's versatile. He can play on the left and he can play there if I need him. And for a penalty spot, he's so reliable. That's massive for England. I think by doing this, he is sort of now guaranteeing his place on the plane if it wasn't already guaranteed.
But is the worry that we're getting a little bit carried away because, and it was Carabao, let's be honest, Liverpool did them 6-0. They haven't had a great Champions League campaign. I was trying to work out how on earth they qualified in the first place.
They got a draw against Chelsea.
They drew against
Chelsea.
Amazing. Benfica.
Amazing. So, but I still don't think Benfica are very good, by the way. But look, it's been pretty good just this last week. You are enjoying it, but bigger tests are to come, aren't they?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it was absolutely classic Eddie Howe after this game when he was asked in his interview, "Oh, so you're through, Eddie? It must be such a relief." No, job not done yet. But come on, mate. I mean, really,
seriously.
It does give him a chance, maybe not to rest the full 11, Jack, but at least to rotate for that game, which actually Newcastle have been crying out for, haven't they? Given how difficult some of their cup draws have been. They've had to go away to Aston Villa. Of course, you get Man City in the cup. Of course, you do, playing them for the millionth time this season, it seems. But I just think that result and the amount of goals Newcastle are ahead is really important, just to give him that chance to rotate the next game.
Yeah, and I think he will a little bit, but I can't see like Shaun Neve starting, Shaha starting. I just don't see it. It's not what he does. He will look at it as a St James's Park fixture. People have paid £65, I think it is, for the tickets. He won't want to lose the game. He hates losing any match, and it's at St James's Park. I think he will want to put on a show. I expect some rotation, but I think it'll actually be still a pretty strong team, to be honest.
It's a bit of that as well about just keeping a bit of momentum.
Keeping momentum as well,
too, especially if you're winning.
Yeah. Like, we could run them over again. if we really wanted to, and I think he will actually want to do that.
Yeah, gents, we do have to speak about one of the more interesting incidents of last night, penalty gate. At half-time, Trippier and Gordon were filmed going off the pitch, and they were in a bit of an argument, and Dan Burn had to act as the mediator, and it all got a bit heated, and it seemed to be over the fact that Gordon took that penalty to make it 5-0. It was his 4th goal of the night, and Voltemada, it seemed, especially in Trippier's eyes, wanted to take that penalty. What are your thoughts on this, Shaun?
That it was kind of very Newcastle, that even when we're 5-0 up at half time, we're going to have a scrap. You think, well, look at it, what's this about? Ridiculous. Gordon, again, was saying, I'm the striker, I take the penalties. Everybody knows that if that had been Alan Shearer, they wouldn't have even been able to have an argument. He would have just taken it, smacked it in, and said, that's what I do, I'm the centre forward. So in many ways, I was okay with it. I'm not sure, there's a bit of dispute whether it was... the penalty was going to go to Willock or Voltemada or Trippier himself or whatever. Why? Just let Gordon get on with it. I was quite fine with that, personally.
What do you think, Jack?
Storm in a teacup, really. You know, I thought that I would have liked to see
who's in the right for you?
Gordon. But I don't think Trippier should get involved, actually. You know, they decide who the penalty taker is already, and the penalty taker, if Gordon's on the field, is Anthony Gordon. Now, once he's got his hat-trick, I would have liked to see what the man taken, but there's a difference between liking him to say it and being bothered about him not taking it, right? So once Gordon is saying, no, I'm the striker, I'm taking it, I'm like, absolutely fine, because as I've said already, I've got no worries about him from the spot. Yes, as I say, it would have been nice, and Watmore looked a bit sad when he went over to celebrate with Gordon. But
crush.
Yeah, I know. But ultimately, Gordon is the striker. Sorry, he's the striker on that game, and he is the penalty taker.
Saying, well, Eddie Howe must give them sort of instructions, but what sort of instruction do you give? Like, if we're 4-0 up just before half time, let Voldemort have the penalty. It's not really an instruction you hand out, is it? So I understand slightly why there might have been a debate about it.
Because if it had been 2-0, and that was for Gordon's hat-trick, there'd be no question. It's just because he already had the hat-trick. You know, and also Trippier shouldn't have had the argument with him on the pitch. Wait another ton of lads. You know, it looks a bit daft on TV.
Wait till you're inside for sure.
It looks a bit daft.
I also think you're right. I mean, yes, you're playing Carabao. Yes, it's to make it 5-0. Yes, it's for Gordon's 4th goal, but it's not a charity. No, it's not an exhibition match. No. It's the Champions League. It's the knockout stages, and it's a tournament which Anthony Gordon's performed really well in. And why shouldn't he get the chance? He is the penalty taker to score 4 goals in a game.
And what a great penalty as well.
And the other thing is, do you know what? I would understand it more if Voltemada was still on a run where he hadn't scored for a while. He scored against Villa. He's had a goal recently, and the thing is, I'm not a fan of those kind of stat padding penalties anyway, because you know it's so that people like us can sit there and go, oh well, Voltemada's got 2 and 2. Everyone knows there's that asterisk of but he was given a penalty, you know, and actually he wasn't the penalty taker on the day. So I firstly agree with you, Jack. I think Kieran Trippier, I like it because he's thinking about the team, isn't he? He's thinking about helping out Voltemada and his confidence. Fine, but just wait till you're in the dressing room.
You're all right with that Trippier fella playing at the moment, by the way, on this run. No, but really, you must think about it every time. You must think, I wanted him dumped. Here we are.
Look, but what I'll say again on Trippier, right, is after Brentford, genuinely, he was awful that game. His last 3 performances have been very good.
All right.
Very good. Okay. Very good. He's really stepped up, and what I've liked about it from him is the fact that he's coming out and doing all the media as well, speaking about how him and the players. Kind of. Well, I've never disputed him. I've never disagreed with him not being a leader. I've said to you, he's still one of our best. He's one of our best ever signings. But there's a point where if Newcastle are going to be this 2030 team, you get ruthless. And eventually you move a
Not that long ago, I said I think we're kind of missing Trippier's leadership, and you absolutely knocked me out of the park. Don't be ridiculous. It's finished. These things have gone rubbish.
Yeah,
but it's not the case, is it?
Well, look,
I feel like get exposed against Man City. No. I get that, but on this particular run, he's been very necessary, very needed, and he put take a penalty argument.
Yeah, but he put in a great cross as well for Malik Chow's goal. That was really good. No, thing is, Trippier, as I said, one of our best ever signings. You know, £12 million Atletico Madrid, the first guy to make that move from the takeover. Be eternally grateful for everything he did. I saw Howe actually speaking about potentially giving him a new contract, so I'll be leaving the show.
We'll do a full reaction show to that. I'll just let you guys go at it. Do you know what I love talking to him doing the media? Do you know what I thought was really smart from the club and very funny to watch was the fact they went, go on, you two, Trippier and Gordon, you go out and do the media and you solve it. I thought that was really good. They're there laughing about it like two schoolboys have been told off. I just thought that was really clever from the club to just send those two out, wasn't it?
And it shows we've got a bit of personality about us among the players, and that they're prepared to front up. Look, it's kind of easier to front up when you won 6-1, but it was good. It was something we weren't really expecting, to put the two of them together, and they kind of explained themselves.
Do you know what? It just kills any talk about. Like you say, Jack, it's a storm in a teacup. Yep. Absolutely right. And I think it's a healthy argument, isn't it? It's about the hunger for scoring goals. Someone who I was very happy for, by the way, was Jacob Murphy. Yes. You can see how much that goal meant to him to get the 6th goal. The way he celebrated at the age of 30, scoring in the Champions League for the first time, and I just loved his post-match interview as well, where he just said, "I can die a happy man now." That's great fun.
But the Jacob Murphy story is one that there's always hope, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've talked about him before. He's been in and out of a side, barely in the side at times for so long. What are we into? He's 8 years, 7 years?
Yeah.
And
signed in 2017, so yeah.
Nailed down a place for a little while last season and started this season pretty well, but then out the team again. And I think he's kind of got used to the ups and downs of being up Newcastle United. But everybody recognises what an important player he is to the whole.
And has been on that journey. Yeah.
Even if he doesn't always start. But yeah, he has. And seems as hungry and as determined as ever to kind of prove himself. Still feel like he's trying to prove himself 7, 8 years on.
If we go against Eddie Howe then and assume that we're through, are we going to do that? Are we going to assume we've made it through now?
I mean, it's Newcastle.
Yeah.
No,
Can never be too careful.
When they pull on back, I was a bit like,
Yeah, how can you still be nervous? Come on. But if we do look ahead, obviously it's Barcelona or Chelsea would be who Newcastle play if they get through in their second leg tie with Karabakh. Who out of those, Jack, would you rather face? Really tricky one.
So I find playing English teams in the Champions League boring, to be brutally honest. Obviously later on in the tournament, yes, you might have to, but at this last 16 stage, I'd rather not play Chelsea. We'll play them 2 times in the season anyway. Like Barcelona, yeah, brilliant. That's another class away trip for everyone. We already played them earlier on in the season. Again, I guess that's was the team of Chelsea. But equally, I thought we played well against Barcelona in that first game, and we're a bit unlucky to lose, really.
They've not been in great form.
They're not. Defensively, they are very suspect. So I would like the chance to play them again. And also, I think that these European trips are about playing your teams in Europe. In the Champions League, it's about playing actual teams on the continent rather than teams that you play all the time. So for me, I'd rather Barcelona. I also think we actually would have a better chance of beating Barcelona as well. So it's kind of 2 things.
I'm not bothered about the nostalgia of it. Rather play Chelsea. I think Chelsea are beatable. I don't think there's anything to worry about seriously about Chelsea. Barcelona thing is, yes, we have beaten them before, but overall they have a bit of a... No, it's not a hoodoo, is it? But they're likely to beat us, you would think.
So do you think that familiarity with Chelsea makes it
a
more winnable game?
It feels like a Premier League game. And I mean, you know, I get all what you're saying, the romance of it and that, but no, don't care. I'd rather just play Chelsea and beat them.
Jack just wants a few cervezas, I think, like in Barcelona.
Look, we've had some great fun in Barcelona. I'll never forget going down the Ramblers that night with the great big banner across the Ramblers which said Peter Reid, monkeys heed. and Peter Reid even thought that was funny, and just the banter that went on there in Barcelona. I think it might have been the one where the game was delayed a day for bad weather, but we had a load of fun and it chucked it down. So you know, I get when it's sunny is even better. We had it's great, but I mean, from a selfish point of view, Chelsea's just down the road from here, so that's an easy to get there.
Shaun, why do you want to fake
well,
it's
Uber away.
It's close. I mean, that is amazing, by the way, the fact that we can have the round before going all the way to Baku, 2,500 miles, and the next one's a 3-hour train.
Bridge.
But of course they'll be there in numbers, won't they? If we talk about the away form generally, obviously it's now been 3 away wins on the spin, and it's amazing, isn't it? Off the back of that Brentford game and in that press conference, when you saw the broken Eddie Howe, you'd never seen him like that before. I mean, he was being very honest about himself and about the players. He has that emotional reaction after they beat Spurs. Really important and let's be honest, a bit unexpected win against Villa in the FA Cup. And then this absolute demolition of Qarabağ. It feels like, doesn't it, they are now getting on the right track and then maybe finding some consistency ahead of a trip to the Etihad.
Yeah, which we'll obviously touch on a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, yeah, does feel like things are starting to click now. Maybe a little bit later than last season, whereby, you know, we sort of reintroduced Tonali into the team and then everything sort of clicked together. It feels like what's clicking now is actually playing Gordon as the striker. You're putting Waldemar in a position where he's kind of free to float around. And that's starting, for me, the team's getting better. Because, one thing you can look at it is say, okay, you beat a poor Spurs team, you beat Villa with 10 men, you beat Qarabağ. But the Villa game, I disagree with Villa fans where they say they were the better team at 11v11. I don't think they were.
I thought it was quite even, and they scored an offside goal.
They scored an offside goal. I thought they had one other chance after that. I thought Newcastle had a blatant penalty disallowed. But also, you could just tell the team was playing better. Like, we had Villa forced back in at their half. Waldemar was linking the play really nicely. Like, it just looked more like a Newcastle team that we recognise. So I took a lot of positives from that. And also, it's not actually easy beating 10 men. You know, Brentford managed to beat Villa when they were down to 10 men. So it was still important to go out and do that. And I just thought that things are starting to click, I think, to be honest.
And the other point is, and this is, I think, really important, they found a way to win without Bruno in the side. And I think that psychologically is quite big as well because of that record that's kind of hung over them for so long.
Well, because I think we felt that without Bruno we couldn't win, we couldn't do things, and he became weirdly increasingly more important this season because of other players being out of form. And now, how fantastic is it that we're finding answers to it, including Waldemar dropping back into midfield, not in exactly the same position, obviously, but it is nice that we're finding solutions. And when you're talking about Eddie there, by the way, I really do think we did talk about him getting sort of quite low. And on this trip, actually, he did a separate newspaper interview before the main interview ahead of the match, and he was quite open there about going home to his family and how they were important to be around him when he wasn't feeling great. And that he's been quite heart on sleevey recently about the stresses and strains, but not in a way that he felt he was falling apart, but just explaining how it feels. We all know he's one of these first in, last out sort of coaches, and how much he sleeps it and feels it and eats it. But it was quite a nice insight into what he's like. He's never going to give you screaming back page headlines and stuff, but I felt we've learned a bit more about him emotionally in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's almost like he wanted to give a reminder to the fans just how much this means to him and just how much effort he's putting in. And that's a really good point, Shaun, because I think in that press conference after the Brentford game, he was there saying, do you know what, I need to fix certain things, I need to work on my performance. But he actually made the point of, do you know what, effort levels, I can't fault myself. I am putting in every ounce of what I can to try and improve the situation. And actually on that, Jack, you know, we've done a lot of these shows where we've said it's too stagnant, he's not fixing things, he's too wedded to his tactics. And actually what we've seen is he's adapted, and that has worked, and finally we're seeing the results of that. And it feels as well as if the new signings who have... It's been a slow burn for a lot of them, but we're finally seeing those green shoots, and they're coming through well.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Malik Chow, I mean, what a signing! Just keeps getting better. Yeah. Although he's going to finally miss a game, isn't he? Because he got picked up a yellow card. So
How
he's
many
going to
more
finally
goals has he got than Isak now? I think.
Oh, it's two more. 2 more goals than Isak, to be fair. Gordon got more in a half. So you know what I mean. And Isak's got all season. So no, but Chow's been amazing. We've said that all along. Ramsey. I'm really enjoying his midfield performances. He's that all action midfielder that Eddie Howe like cries out for. He's got it all. Like, I think for now at the end of the season he's gonna be really good. But I tell you one guy I'm really, really happy for is Joe Willock. Looking like the Joe Willock of old. Like, he's looking fit. He's looking aggressive. Thought he was brilliant against Qarabağ. Obviously, he overran them in midfield. I think he's been good in basically every game he's played recently since PSG. He was really against Tottenham. Got a great goal, cruelly disallowed in that match. So I'm really pleased to see Willock back, and it feels like there's competition all over the pitch now. You've got Joe Linton coming back, Miley coming back. So there's competition all over the pitch.
Slightly shocked, if I'm honest, how much Eddie has adapted in recent weeks to the situation, the change of timings he's putting on with substitutes, changes of formation. All the fans, us, were calling for him to do that, and he did it. If you compare that to Amorim at Man United, who wouldn't change anything, and actually said, the more noise you make, it makes me more stubborn to stick with what I've got. And it's like, I'm not saying that he's just done it just because everybody was on his case about it, but maybe he does sit back and think, you know what, I do need to change this up. Maybe he did.
Yeah,
listen a bit.
Honestly, yeah.
No, I think it's the point.
It felt, didn't it, really, sometimes? Because, like you say, when you're so in it, sometimes maybe you just do get a bit of tunnel vision, and you block out that outside noise.
But he does have other coaches, though, Ollie. I mean, it's not like Jonesy and Jason. I'm going to throw something in and say, you know what, maybe we need to change this. I kind of got the impression before they weren't really involving themselves in changing his mindset. Maybe they all sat down and had a big coaches meeting and said, we do have to look at this a different way.
It just felt like the game plan, was extremely, especially when we came up against a team who sat back, like a no block. It just felt like pass, cross. But we saw against Villa, who went out 10 men, they went and sat back, but we were shooting from outside the box. We were playing like balls into the area. We were crossing, but equally you've kind of got it against 10 men. But I liked it was different, like in and around the area. Like it just seemed like they had more ideas, they were more switched on, they were trying things, and I think that's genuinely because of Voltemada moving in that position, because he was creating space for other people.
Well, speaking of Voltemada, there were some reports from talkSPORT this week that Newcastle will listen to offers for Nick Voltemada this summer. I mean, for me, this came as a huge surprise, given that he was signed 6 months ago, given that he had such a good start, didn't he? I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. 7 Premier League goals he's got. They all came before the turn of the year, but he's also scored in every competition. He's got 10 goals so far this season. He came in as the record signing as well, £69 million that they brought him in for. I mean, what was your reaction to those reports? Because, like I say, for me, it was one of shock because, okay, it hasn't been perfect, but he's a young player, Jack. And for me, he's got so much potential as a footballer, whatever role he's playing.
I was surprised. I really was surprised. Like, as you say, I don't think you spend £69 million on someone and then give up on them after a year. I would really hope Newcastle don't do that. Now, it'd be a bit different if maybe he's unhappy or what have you. I see no signs of that whatsoever. There was a report from Germany that proves to be absolute nonsense that he was unhappy, but I don't see any signs of that at all.
Well, you do see signs. He was unhappy when he didn't get.
Well, he was unhappy. Well, yeah, that's different though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
But like, he's another one who wears his heart on his sleeve, though. You can see in his body language when he's down. You see it on the pitch. When he's happy, you get it as well. So he's not that difficult to read.
No, but I think there's a difference between being unhappy with a penalty and then being unhappy in general. So I think that as long as he's playing the games. Yes, maybe not playing up front, which he probably thinks he is a striker, but if he's not playing up front, I think he'd be happy just playing the games. Now, for me, he is the player that you build the team around. Never mind thinking about getting rid of him. Like, you build the team around him because of his... So, well, that's the question. I think actually, if we're going for this pressing style of football again, which it seems like we've switched back to it again, then I think you go out and you get a new striker in the summer, and the striker who I'm thinking about, who has made the most presses than anyone else basically this season, or only behind Roberto Firmino and Lautaro Martinez, is Victor Osimhen. So Osimhen presses people more than any other striker. On against Galatasaray, he created 3 goals from pressing out the field, winning about his 27. He got 70 goals, 130 against for Napoli. He's got 50 goals for Galatasaray. He's always wanted to play in the Premier League. He would be like that one signing whereby other people would sit up and go, wow, all right, okay.
I can't really work out how he's ended up there, to be honest.
Galatasaray, it's very strange.
Remember when everybody wanted him 3 seasons ago, the whole world wanted him. You had to break the bank and more to get him, and then he ended up going to Turkey, and I was like, how'd that happen?
It is strange, isn't it? It is strange. I mean, assume
he looked good the other night. He was
so good. I assume wages would be Newcastle probably have to smash the wage structure, but I think for a player like that, who for me, if you're going to play press and football, and he does, I think it's 18 presses per game. That's what he averages. Then why on earth wouldn't you break the bank for him? Get him in, make a statement. Give Eddie Howe that dream striker, because he would be the dream striker of Eddie Howe's pressing style. And then you put Voltemada in behind. And I'll tell you what, I think you would be looking at something pretty special there.
Well, as I referred to Joe Linton earlier on, I remember many stories about how we couldn't wait to get rid of him and we were going to have to take a massive cut on what we paid for him, and anybody came along with 10pence, they could have him. And then Eddie converted him and off we went. The same's going to happen here, possibly.
It's interesting though, Shaun, what you said there about where Voltemade himself would be happiest playing. Does he actually see himself as a number 9? We've seen how disappointed he is about not being able to get on the score sheet. Does that show you that, you know, if... Because I do agree with you, Jack. It'd be so exciting as a player
That'd be amazing.
As someone to build a squad around anyway. Because I do think he's a young player. There's so much talent there, but there's kind of talent where you wouldn't expect it. I feel with Voltemade.
Do you not think when you're a centre forward or you're signed as a centre forward, it feels like demotion if you played anywhere else on the pitch?
But I guess that would be Eddie Howe's job, wouldn't it? To say, look, you know, I see you as one of the stars of the future in this position.
Joe Linton didn't take that way. He saw it as a salvation. It saved his career.
He did.
I don't know if Voltemade would see it the same way.
What would it say as well, do you think, Jack, if, you know, this summer they do take a cut price for Voltemade? I just think that would be such a shame.
It'd be really disappointing because again, like, he's such a unique footballer. Like, he's 6'7", but he's so good with his feet and like winning free kicks, and he's so intelligent, like creating space for other people. Like, he might not be directly involved in the goals all the time, but he would be indirectly involved in all the time by creating that like little bit of opportunity for someone else to move into. Like, if you think about the goal actually against Gordon's first one, like, Burn has all that space to run into because he sort of dragged someone out of position, so for Burn to like move into it, and then Gordon makes the run in behind. That's just a bit of intelligence, and I feel like it'd be such a shame to waste that. Like, I really think he could be a really, really special footballer. He might not be a 30 goal a season striker, but if you win more games with him in the team than you do without him, then surely that's the better thing for Newcastle.
It feels to me that if you sold him this summer, you'd have to mark it down as a panic buy from Newcastle. But for me, he doesn't feel like that. If I'm being totally honest, Johan Wissa does. You know, just given the fee for him and given that he was in the last year of his contract. And, you know, to be fair with the Wissa signing, he's had so many injury issues and it just hasn't kind of worked out. You know, maybe Wissa moving in the summer would make a lot more sense. Not saying that that's something the club will definitely do, but it would just make more sense to me. Whereas for me, Voltemade as a player that I want to trust in that potential.
Well, I've given up on Wissa already, though he hasn't had a chance yet. Here he goes again. Look,
go on, Jack.
It's not up. Look, he hasn't had a chance yet. We haven't worked out how to play him. But we've just said, all right, 5 games, 6
It's a good point. It's a good point. Is there a way where Wissa becomes a very useful player to have in the squad?
I'm not saying it. I'm just not saying it because, like, I think what annoyed Howe more against Brentford annoyed me as well. Like, work hard up front, man. Like, we're a pressing team. That's when we're at our best. If the striker doesn't press, right, that ruins everything else from there, because then the other players have to do more. Then, like, if you watched that Brentford game, it was Ayer and Vandenberg who were not like amazing on the ball, and they were just allowed to walk out, no pressure whatsoever. Like, if he's not fully match fit, then he shouldn't be starting. Put Asula on, because Asula will run around. Yeah, he's not the finished article at all, but he will actually cause. Like, I thought against Villa, Asula wasn't great. I mean, he had a shot that went for a throw in, but he actually put them under pressure, and that annoys me more. If you're going to play in this team, the one thing you need to do is run and put the effort in, and he's not doing it. So then, then you couple that with missing chances all the time, and it's just, look, I don't want to give up on him, but equally,
you do.
No, equally, I don't want to give up on him, but I'm not seeing the signs. I need to see some more. I said when we signed him, needed to immediately come in and make impact. He got injured. That's not his fault. He missed AFCON as well, which I appreciate, but he's come back, and it was good at the start. And then since then, I don't know what's happened.
But are we expecting too much from a player who has had that injury? You know, he's going to be
Jack's
rusty.
Point in the sense that when he's getting into the team, you want to see minimum is you want to see effort, and he's right. He didn't put it in there, but are we discarding him that quick without giving him some run of games? I'd hesitate to do that. And he did cost a few quid.
He cost a lot.
But you're not going to get that money back.
No, that money's gone.
It's funny. Obviously, you've talked about the fact that you'd want to, bring in a striker of the profile of someone like Victor Osimhen this summer. when we get to this summer, and if the CEO David Hopkinson puts his money where his mouth is, apparently it's going to be a big old splash this summer, which should be quite exciting. What is the priority? Do you think, despite the fact that Newcastle have Johan Wissa and they do have Voltemade who can play as a number 9, do you think despite that the priority is to bring in another number 9?
Well, yeah, that's if we just say, right, Voltemade, you're gonna play as a 10, you stay, but you play as a midfielder, whatever it may be, this hybrid role that we've come up with him for. So if you stay that, then yeah, you go out, and I don't know if it'll happen, but I can't think of anyone better if you're going to play pressing football than Osimhen, because the stats show that he's the best at it. So get him.
Do you think he would consider a move to Newcastle United a step up from a Galatasaray side that's just whacked Juventus, that has massive following in that country, and where he's a hero? I'm not saying he wouldn't be a hero at Newcastle, but he seems to have found a good home.
And my worry as well, Shaun, is it's not looking... It could still happen, but it's not looking that likely that Newcastle qualify for the Champions League this season. So that is going to be a big factor when trying to chat to a player like that. Well, you never know. Beat Chelsea, beat Carabao.
Get Carabao,
Then play Man City. Great.
It's into that.
Anyway, listen, guys, it was Sir Bobby Robson's birthday this week, so we wanted to pay a bit of a tribute. You can already see Mr. Custis laughing a bit because. Do you meet Bobby at some point?
I've had a few moments with him. The thing about Bobby Robson, as we all know, was how passionate he was about the game. You saw
legend.
When he was England manager, how he took on journalists when he was England manager. They gave him criticism, he gave it back, and I did experience it firsthand. But you've got to go back a bit, 2003, and I had to look it up just before the show, all the details of it to remind myself. But basically, I'd written an article critical of Newcastle, and in the middle of this article it said they had so many factions within the squad they needed 4 different dressing rooms for the various factions. It's in the middle of a piece, it's not even a headline. Robson goes absolutely berserk at his next press conference about this, tells everybody that this is a disgrace, and that where is that journalist? He's not even here to face me about it. So it was sort of, the challenge was set that I'd better turn up to the next one. So I come up the next week. It was quite a big game. I seem to remember a press conference.
How were you feeling heading to that press conference?
It'd been set up that I would get to talk to Bobby and we would thrash it out. I'm kind of okay, but I thought it was going to be off cam in the corner. We'd have a chat and talk it out. Instead, he does this press conference, and the TV and the radio got to interview him, and he ended up going off about me having done this story about the fact there were loads of different factions. And when the reporters came out, and I'll never forget the two of them, one of them was my mate Jeff Brown, who worked on BBC North East, who I'd worked with when I was on the Journal, and he goes, "Shaun, I'm sorry, but it's great stuff, it'll have to go on air." And then David Craig of Sky comes out and he goes, "It's brilliant, he's absolutely slaughtered you." And I'm like, "Thanks very much." So I then get summoned to go and see Bobby in that side office off to the left of the press conference place, and we sit down. He goes, "Right, son, they tell me you're a Newcastle fan, but you're not, are you? What sort of a Newcastle fan are you when you write this sort of rubbish?"
Wow.
And he goes through it. Who are the cliques? Who's in which clique? Go on, name them. Right, who's causing trouble? Right? Go on, tell me. So we proceeded to have a fair old discussion about this. He says, "Anyway, what's your pedigree with North East football?" And I sort of said, "I used to go and watch Newcastle. Yeah, I remember that match. His forensic knowledge of North East football absolutely astonished me, because he did have a bit of reputation for getting names wrong and stuff like that. But when it came to North East football, so I casually mentioned that my father-in-law's either cousin or nephew had played for North Shields in the FA Amateur Cup in 1969.
Yeah.
I said his name was Alan Driver, and he goes, "Alan Driver? You know Alan Driver?" He said, "That North Shields team," he said, "fantastic side." And he proceeded to reel off the team from the 1969 FA Amateur Cup final, which beat Sutton 2-1. Now, I can't absolutely vouch for whether he got it right, but he said it really quickly. Yeah. He says, "Oh, what team?" He says, "Let me tell you about amateur football in this region, why I love football so much around here." Honestly, it was an education for half an hour, and he loved chatting about it. And in the end, I got an an interview with him for myself and walked out with an exclusive interview, which I was able to run at the weekend. But I had to go through quite a lot of pain to get to that point.
But it was all smiles at the end, was it?
Yeah, but it was to the point where there's an industry magazine called Press Gazette, and it was on the front page of Press Gazette. Robson calls out some reporter for saying that there were cliques at Newcastle. It was a pretty lively week.
Oh wow! I never thought I'd like him more, but that's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, I'd love to know who was in those cliques as well. But we've said it here, and it's just amazing hearing that kind of story, and it just shows, doesn't it, so much about the passion and the character and just the man he was as well. Jack,
seeing a guy who just sort of transcended football. Really, I can't think of anyone who's got a bad word to say about him. I think when everyone ever speaks about him, one thing I always think about is Mourinho. Mourinho's got an affinity for Newcastle, calls himself a little magpie because of his time with Sir Bobby Robson. It shows that wherever he went, all of the clubs he managed, England, what have you, he touched people's hearts. He made a difference wherever he was. And if you think about that Newcastle team that he had, he came in after, I suppose, we had the entertainers, and then there was a bit of a dip with Ruud Gullit. Shambolic, really, appointment and how it all ended and stuff. And look, he turned Newcastle into a Champions League team.
He did, but by the time he was leaving, there weren't many Newcastle fans who thought it was the wrong decision. That he went.
I know, and I think a lot of people regret that, don't they? To be fair, because
Freddie Shepherd certainly regretted it, didn't he?
Well, you've got to know what happened after. Graham Souness comes in, tears the Newcastle team apart.
Yeah, but there was kind of a feeling that it had run
its course. Yeah.
Which, in hindsight, made me think, well, no, it hadn't, because his enthusiasm for the job was as great as ever. By the time he went, it really hurt him to lose that job. It's remarkable, isn't it? A man who managed England, had his success in Italy and Spain, and that the biggest job, the job he loved most of all, was definitely Newcastle United. To lose it really, really hurt. But to stay involved in the area afterwards with his foundation and everything, still feel very, very connected with the community. Shows how much the place meant to him.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a win he'd have been very proud of, I think, in the week. So brilliant stuff. I love that from Shaun as well.
Yeah,
I've not heard that story. That's absolutely fantastic.
That's great story.
Right, if we focus on the next game, Manchester City away, I am so bored of playing Manchester City this season, genuinely. Look, we have had a win over them. It came at St James's Park. Let's not talk about the League Cup semi-final, but look, Jack, I mean, Newcastle come into this off the back of 3 away wins on the spin. It feels like a very different context even to that especially that away game in the League Cup semi-final. Is there a world where they can come into this with a bit more confidence?
Definitely going with confidence. And look, if you go back to the second leg of the semi-final, I know we were 3-0 down pretty quickly, but actually we had a lot of chances in the game. It caused them a lot of problems. There was, huge misses from, Visser, Elanga, Gordon. They all missed big opportunities across the tide. You know what I mean? So I thought that the way we approached the game was right. It was just you could tell the confidence wasn't there. Was what have you. So look, we go into this with a lot more confidence. I'll tell you who will be absolutely desperate for us to win: Arsenal. Arsenal fans will be tuned in and hoping that we can get our first ever Premier League win at the Etihad, which is absolutely ridiculous considering they moved in 2003 and it wasn't even the Etihad for a few years. They weren't even won by the Middle East takeover, and we couldn't win then. So you've got to end it at some point. I don't know if we're going to end it at the weekend, but I do want to go there, and it's not a free hit, by the way. We are 10th in the league, and if you look at how close the table is, so Spurs are on 29 points, and then Liverpool in 6th are all on 42 points. So a few wins and we're back up there again, and we're back in the European race. So
the stakes for City, though, are so high.
They are. The stakes for City are so high.
The Arsenal cock-up has meant that they're going to be so on it against us. They're going to treat it like one of their biggest games of the season.
Yeah. But I also think, we made this point a bit earlier, I think the fact that Newcastle are 6-1 up from that first leg against Karabakh is so helpful, because it just means you can throw much more at this game than maybe if you were prioritising that home leg against Karabakh and you really needed to win. It means that, like you say, Jack, it's not a free hit. It's a huge game in the Premier League, and it is good that they are heading into it with a bit more confidence. And we'll see how they get on. I mean, I've just got to ask you guys, what was your reaction when you saw that Newcastle drew Manchester City at home in the FA Cup?
Deflated, to be honest, because we do really, by and large, find it a struggle against them. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be at least 1 and 2 games where Newcastle have beaten them, which is...
That's unbelievable.
It gives me a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, it was great back in the 60s.
But no, I was disappointed, I've got to say.
When you saw some of the other ties, Mansfield got Arsenal.
I know.
Like, I mean, come on. Like,
there was an argument, and people try and spin it. You got to play them at some point, and you'd rather play them at home than at their place or at Wembley. And that is a fair point.
It's a fair point, and equally the FA Cup won with their priority. They know after Arsenal they're dropping points now. Against Wolves, they know they are well in that title race. It's in their hands essentially. If they win a game and then they beat Arsenal at the Etihad, they're 1 point ahead. So essentially, that's me the focus. They're Champions League as well. They're the big trophies for Pep. That's what I care about. I think he will rotate, but the thing is, their rotated team's still ridiculous.
Very good. Yeah.
But look, that one at home is different. It is an opportunity to get through, and if we did get through that again, I mean, what draws we've had, by the way, in the FA Cup. Played 3 Premier League teams. What's that about? Played Bournemouth in the third round.
And hold on, this weekend, Semenyo and Gahey, they can play, can't they?
Yeah.
They're allowed to play. Yeah, the rules are clear on that one. Fine, right, now it's time for our Bet Builder with BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or head to betmgm.co.uk. Guys, I'm going to stay positive with this one. I'm going to go for Newcastle win.
So for the first time in Premier League history. Yeah,
the records have got to be broken,
mate. It's got to be broken.
They've got to be broken, and they've had 3 away wins in a row. It's going to continue. They've just smashed Karabakh. So I'm going to go for Newcastle win. What are you going for, Jack?
Yeah, so obviously we have picked up in the last few games, but we have conceded in every game. So I think we'll definitely concede, but I'm going to go for both teams to score.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Classic negative Jack. They're going to score.
I'm with him in that there'll be plenty going on. Both teams can be vulnerable, but they can score as well. So goals in each half, definitely. 8 goals in each half.
A goal in each half. It's going to be a good game then. Looking forward to it. And like you say, there will be a few Arsenal fans, won't there?
There will be.
Keenly watching that and finally, talking nicely about us probably, because they are obsessed with Newcastle at times. Anyway, that's all from us today. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks of course to Shaun and Jack as well. Do join us again next week. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. Have a good one. Goodbye.